This is a Caterpillar 312 excavator, a little smaller than the 315 size. What had happened was my customer had a smaller thumb cylinder on it. The original thumb he had was much smaller, and he actually twisted it up. I had to cut it off with the torch to get it off the machine. So I told him if we use a bucket cylinder, it was about 5.5 inches longer than what was there. I think we could make that work. On the thumb, I had to line bore the pin size from 40 miller up to 60 millimeter. It has a 60 millimeter pin on each end. And I also ran into a problem because with the thumb, the pin has to come through the outside of the thumb. On the thumb end of it, because it has to go through this hole on the outer tine of the thumb to be inserted through the end of the cylinder. So what I did, I had some 1-inch square stock. I welded that to the end of the pin, and then I made a plate with a slot that the stock on the end of the pin would slide into, and then that's bolted through with a grade 8 3/4 inch bolt, which holds the pin in position. It retains it and prevents it from rotating. I had to open the ears a little bit because the pin boss on the end of the Caterpillar cylinder was about 7/8 of an inch wider. So I opened that up. I have 1/8 inch shims on either side. I also had to modify the depth of the middle support for the thumb to allow clearance for the pin boss on the end of the cylinder. The stop for the thumb. With the thumb all the way extended, the rod would hit the stop and score the rod and eat up it would damage the rod and cause problems with the seals on the end of the cylinder. So I simply cut an opening which allows the rod to pass through to allow clearance between the thumb support here and the cylinder tube. It required an extra 1 inch of space added to the rest. So now when the thumb is fully retracted, you have about 3/16 of an inch clearance between the thumb support here and the cylinder, so it never contacts it. On this end, these are the original pin ears for the smaller pin, and moved them up 5.5, 6 inches. Added 3/4 plate onto the existing plate that was there. Installed the pin ears with shims. I took 1/2 inch plate, set the pin in the plate, welded solid with a 5/8 grade 8 bolt to hold everything stationary. Being this is a bucket cylinder for a Caterpillar 312, 315, you have the steel line on one side, and then on the other side, what you have is the flange type with the rubber hose already crimped on. This was going to be a problem. I had to get this cylinder hooked up to the auxiliary hydraulic valves. I simply took 3/4 inch steel pipe fittings, welded it to the end of the steel line, which enabled me to put the 90, this is 3/4 inch regular pipe, into that fitting to JIC flare, using the lines which go to the auxiliary hydraulic valves. So on this side, I also used the 3/4 inch pipe fitting and welded it directly to the face of the flange. If you have auxiliary hydraulics, you can get regular JIC fittings to the Caterpillar flanges, so you don't have to spend a whole ton of money to get special adapters and fittings and this and that to work. The main thing is to keep these thumb pins stationary. They cannot simply, you can't just put a bolt through the retaining holes of these pins, as you can see there, and allow them just to rotate. Everything's held stationary. Each end of the cylinder has grease fittings, so that won't be a problem. And you could simply get a bucket cylinder, a Caterpillar bucket cylinder, and fit it to your machine. Through Caterpillar, I priced out a new factory bucket cylinder based on the serial number of the machine. They quoted $6,000. I was able to find a rebuilt Caterpillar cylinder from a place in Texas for $2,500, and it was another about $800 in parts for the steel line on that side, the clamp to secure it to the cylinder body, the pins. And that is one way you can secure your pin inside the thumb when the pin has to be able to exit out the end of the thumb. The pin itself is 60 millimeter. I opened this hole to 80 millimeter, which allowed clearance for the small shoulder on the pin end to pass through. So all in all, I think this will work very good. It came out good, and I wanted to show you. Thank you.